We are live. Hey, Facebook. This is Rachel and Ronald, and we are, oh, wow, it said congrats. It's our 50th broadcast. We've been on here 50 times, guys. So, hey, we are Married by God, MBG. We are coming to you for MBG Monday. Continuing part 2, we're going to let people jump on. And, hey, if you jump on the scope, just drop us a hi. How you doing? Let us know you're in the building as we wait for people to jump on. Hey, Shireen, as we wait for people to jump on the scope with us. How you doing on today? We have a lot to talk about that we talked about last time, so hopefully. This, got all my little sound effects going on. Turn this down. Hey, Mika. Hey, Facebook family, if you're jumping on, we are getting ready to go into part 2 of what we talked about, not last week, but the week before last, I believe. I don't think we was on scope last week. We had a lot going on. But we were talking about, we're doing good, Shireen. We can't complain. But we were talking about
Two
sex
things.
and affection about 2 weeks ago on Married by God, and we got a lot of inboxes behind the scenes. There's a lot of questions. We had a lot of comments. I think that was the scope. We had the most comments on that scope.
It was close to about 300 comments.
Yeah, and we were just talking about an issue that is very prevalent in a lot of marriages, and most marriages. A lot of times you will have an issue with these two things, and they have to be present in a marriage, in a thriving and healthy marriage. They are present in a marriage. Guys, if you're sharing our video, thank you for sharing, Steve. If you're sharing the videos, please go ahead and share. Invite people to come on in and let's talk about affection and sex in marriage. We coach a lot of different couples, and just from our experience coaching and mentoring people and talking to people behind the scenes and through research, as we study marriages and we study different marriage books, we found that sex and affection are two of the most prominent issues in a marriage and a relationship. We found that those are the two issues that most marriages and relationships deal with, and those are the two things that typically, when you go without, lead the spouse to cheat. So typically, if men, or if you have a woman that's more sexually has more sexual desire than a man in a marriage, and they're not getting what they need, that typically will lead them to step outside the marriage. And then so for women, typically there's a need for affection, and so if we're not getting affection the way that we need to get affection, it can lead to infidelity. And so we wanted to have this continue this discussion like we did on last week about how to affair-proof your marriage. They're just awesome book, guys. And some of you guys may have read it. If you haven't, it's a great book. If you're married, to read. It's called His Needs / Her Needs. His Needs, Her Needs, and it's by Willard F. Harley Jr. It's a wonderful, wonderful book. It's Christian based. He makes some references for the Bible to support his basis, but it's just a all around awesome book. And it talks about the number one need for wives being affection, and the number one need for husbands being sex, typically. Now, this isn't across the board for all marriages, as marriages are different and people are different. You do have some women that desire sex more than their spouse, and you do have some men that like affection. And so, but
now, I don't know how many women desire sex more than their wives.
You know what I found interesting? You're right, babe. But what I found interesting was that in the book, it talked about the physiological aspect of the desire that men have. So it talked about the natural, physiologically makeup of men and their desire to have sex. So it said they did a study that women could experience how their husbands feel sexually by doing what they call putting on a testosterone patch for a week. And so they let wives put on a testosterone patch. Let me finish explaining. Okay. They let wives put on a testosterone patch that would have you feeling like a 19-year-old male. So you would have the desires of a 19-year-old male if you put on this testosterone patch for a week. And a lot of women who did the study and did the test, they didn't particularly like it because it was almost like they were out of control with their sexual desires. Like they just couldn't control it. And that's how men typically feel in their marriage that they desire their wife. It's the simplest things. It doesn't take much. They see her, they desire her. So that desire is there ongoing all the time for a husband to his wife. And so a lot of times as wives, we get, she was born with a testosterone patch. Yes, and that's why I said, Shannon, it could be so different for people across the board, but typically this is what men experience every day. And so I just thought when I was reading the book, I was like, well, yeah, that's kind of how women are. We have like men, I wish we could put them on an affection patch, like
No.
they could experience the desire for the affection that women have.
And I agree. I mean, I think we should do a change of role. I can recall, because I think the one way that we have done it to test it is that we went on a fast for a month. Mm-hmm. And the roles changed.
Yeah. Wait a minute. I was with you. On we went on a fast. No, but we did. We agreed to do a sexual fast, a fast from sex in our marriage for a while because we wanted to see a couple of things. And Ronald's right. I mean, it did kick up my desire, but also I think the fact that it didn't seem like he was like on me every day. It gave me the space to kind of like, okay, let me come check for bae. You know what I'm saying? It released. You know, I don't know what to say, but it just allowed me to be more of the aggressor because he typically would take over.
Her inner African came out. Y'all see this pitch on the wall? She was coming out of this wall.
Really? No, but I think if you haven't done it, look, guys, if you're married, honestly, and you have not tried fasting from sex in your marriage, it's an awesome, awesome thing. And it's not to fast just to be fasting or fast because you mad or fast because you guys don't agree. It has to be an agreement between you two, and it has to be for a purpose. But it does bring you guys closer intimately. It does now focus the marriage more on the affection piece, and it's not so geared towards just sex.
Yeah, and just going back for those of who just joining us, you know what I'm saying, we're talking about the two things that women and men need in a marriage. Mm-hmm. We say that men need sex. It's not a want. It's a need. Men need sex.
Yeah.
Women need intimacy.
Yeah.
That's what they need. That's what they desire.
Yeah.
That's what they want from us, is give them that intimacy. Let's answer a few of the questions. We haven't even got started. I seen some questions popping up.
Well,
Let's see some comments.
So it looks like some comments. So I'm seeing that somebody said it's rough for men when it comes to this. So I guess when it comes to not getting sex from your wife, that it's rough for men.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
It's rough for men when you're not getting the sex from your wife.
Absolutely. I think it's rough for men, and I think it's rough for anybody in a marriage when sex is cut off and they have the desire to have sex with their spouse. But typically for men, absolutely. Yeah. Because I think their desire is already heightened. And one thing about it, any woman that's married typically wants her spouse to be faithful to her. We don't want them out here just sleeping with anybody. And so when you only have one resource to come to, or one resource that you desire to come to, and it shuts off to you, like we said last time, your need doesn't go away. The resource just stopped.
So the thing is, so why do women cut it off and don't expect for a man to get upset?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because like you said, it's hard. When we already desire it, we want it. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden it is cut off. Mm-hmm.
Well, this is the thing. And me and my girlfriend, we always talk about things like this, but we were just talking earlier today. One thing I think about it is that men can become lazy. I'm going to give it to you. Men can become very lazy when it comes to pursuing their wives. It says a man shall leave his mother and father and cling to his wife. Mm-hmm. When you dissect that word cling, it means to pursue, to chase after. That's an ongoing thing. A lot of times men think that I can do what I need to do to get her to the place where she wants to marry me. But when she's my wife, I don't have to put in the same work because I'm obligated to get sex from her. Like she's obligated to give me some. So I don't got to put in the work to get any from her because we're husband and wife now. So she just needs to do it. And that's a bad place to get to because that does not take our desire for affection and being pursued away. Women like to be pursued, hands down, period. And a man that pursues a woman correctly will always get her to a place to where she wants to be sexual with him.
And that is good. And most men are like cheetahs.
Yeah.
A cheetah is one of the fastest animals in the world. But they can only run up to like 2 miles. Women are like rabbits. They'll keep running in a circle for at least 30 miles and then say, okay, this is the chase.
Well, we need you to re-up. You get some rest and get back on your grind. I don't know what to say, ladies. Am I not right? I mean, we need, because this is the thing. And see, this is the thing that men.
But I agree with what somebody just said. I didn't mean to cut you off.
That, baby?
Someone just, I think Kenny just said, women shouldn't use sex as a bargaining tool.
No.
And that's what women don't do. That's what women do. They be like, okay, you want sex? I want this right here. I'm gonna give you this, but come on.
Okay, so I don't think that women necessarily want to use sex as a bargaining tool. I think a lot of times they are pushed into a position to utilize what they know will get a response out of their husband. So anytime
it's dangerous. That's dangerous.
It's a dangerous thing to do. But
because when you do that, you know what happens?
What happens? Like I do know what happens.
You can have that man drifting away.
Absolutely. And you know what also can happen when you don't give your wife the affection that she needs?
We're not talking about affection.
Okay,
you see what I'm talking about?
Okay,
That's the bargaining tool.
You're right.
You see how you jumped on the defense? But if she don't give that, you know what going to happen?
I thought we were going back and forth. So right now we just talking about sex.
We're dealing with the sex.
Okay,
issue.
so right now we just dealing with sex.
We're dealing with men and sex.
Okay, so I'm going to stay focused. So it is dangerous to use it as a bargaining tool, but I don't think that women intend to use it as a bargaining tool. I feel like a lot of times they are pushed into those positions to just feel like, okay, you know what, this is not working. He's not hearing what I'm saying. This is going to be an issue for me. Because that's the thing. And I think, Denise said, I like Danger Bill's character. So one thing, Shannon said on here that it's not that women don't desire sex. Let me go back to the comment. It's okay. So women don't lack the desire. They lack the willingness to engage in polite, boring married sex for 6 minutes. So let's talk about that.
Hold on. Boring sex for 6 minutes? I mean, if you got a balcony, if you got a back porch.
But see, you're thinking outside of the box, so it doesn't have to be boring, is what you're saying. But what Shannon is saying, for a lot of people, they get comfortable in having sex with their spouse. Very basic, that doesn't motivate someone to want to enjoy it.
Well, women, first you have to give it up first. Before I can even spice it up and make it nasty and grimy and slimy, you have to first give it up. I can't do none of the nasty stuff if you're not giving it up.
Yeah. But men have to understand that women don't always just have sex just to be having sex. To get a woman to a place where she desires having sex, it has to be an emotional connection. That's research based, guys. That's all over every marriage book that you will know, and that's real life if you're in a marriage. We want to feel connected. That's what the whole affection piece draws you to your husband. And I think that's why husbands who may be experiencing a wife that does not want to have sex with them or has limited the sex, there's a problem in the way they go about getting their wife to a sexual place. Sex for women starts before we hit a bedroom, a closet, a garage, a car. It starts before all that. It's about the enticement of things. It's about luring us in, the way your wife wants to be lured in.
And I agree. Ladies, truly, honestly, I agree. But I'm going to be real honest and I'm going to be real frank with you guys. This is how men think. I don't want to do that every time I want to have sex.
It ain't got to be every time. It does not have to be every time.
This is what women think. I mean, I don't want to have sex because I want to feel wanted. I want to get the intimacy. Girl, you're a magnet. I'm a magnet. Hey, we're smashing together every time. I mean, what more do you want? You know what I'm saying? I understand we're going to give you the intimacy. We're going to give you the romance. We're going to give you all those things. But women start to use this as an excuse for every time they're not giving it up. You're not giving it up. You say, I ain't getting the emotional piece that I need.
Yeah.
Well, won't you get nasty sometimes? You know, because this is what the side chick don't do.
Yeah.
The side chick, she don't need to be romance. She gonna come in and she gonna make sure she don't have to check to see if I'm eating the right foods or not.
So I see the comments, and so somebody said, yeah, see, women like to feel like a woman and not like a piece of meat. I think that's what it goes down to.
Oh, you said women like to feel.
Yeah, women want to feel desired as a woman and not like a piece of meat. So we don't want to feel like it's just something let me do. It's like,
I agree.
look, and this is, and we're talking about this, guys. For those who just joined the scope, we started this conversation about 2 weeks ago, and we just had to continue it because we didn't finish it, and we had so much conversation around it and so many inboxes about it. We found that so many people aren't talking about sex in marriage and affection in marriage. And those are two of the most important things to keep rotating and thriving and growing in a marriage to be successful. You have to have an abundance of the two, an abundance of sex and an abundance of affection in your marriage to be able to have and sustain a healthy, happy marriage. And so we decided to talk about it. Now we're talking about, the impact of not having sex in a marriage. And typically men have a higher sex drive than women, and they desire sex more than women. Typically, you do have your abnormalities where women desire it more, but majority of the time that's an issue for men, that they're not getting enough sex. Majority of the time it's an issue for women that they're not getting enough intimacy, enough affection. And so that's what we're talking about tonight. So we're dealing with the men right now and talking about not getting enough sex and how they can get their wives to a place, the dangers of not giving your spouse sex when they desire sex, and how side pieces, like Ronald said, the other woman, whatever you want to call them, how they come into play and why they are so prevalent now. And we're also talking about it because if you look at statistics, there are a lot of Christian marriages out here that are suffering from infidelity. It's not a lack of knowing God, a lack of loving God. It's simply getting to a place where you desire something that you no longer have access to. And when you get to a place that you're deprived of a need that you still have, most people will step outside and get that need met somewhere else. And so we wanted to have a real conversation on how not to experience that, how to affair-proof your marriage by meeting these two basic needs. And a lot of time what we find in marriages is, if I'm not getting enough sex, you're not going to get any affection. Or if I'm not getting any affection, you're not going to get any sex. That's typically what we see, that tug of war in a marriage, with trying to get that basic need for each of us met, that number one need that each of us have being met first. And it's at the end of the day, they both have to be in heavy rotation, guys. They both have to be present. You have to give your wife affection. Wives, you have to give your husband sex. Period. If you want to keep people out of your marriage, if you want to keep your spouse from being tempted.
If you want to keep a happy marriage.
Yeah, if you want to keep, and if you want to stay connected, both of those things help to keep a marriage connected to each other. It keeps us focused. So right now we're talking about the guys not getting enough sex. But see, I think the problem is, guys, and I want you to hear me out because we talked about it. Guys will pursue a woman hands down before he marries her. He will wine and dine her. He will send her flowers, roses, gifts for no reason, sweet nothings in her ear. All of those things excite a woman sexually. If I ain't dropped you a nugget, that's a nugget, pick it up. All of those things will excite a woman sexually. It will get her to the place where she starts to like, oh, you know what? God, I really like, she starts to desire it, even if she wasn't, guys, my battery, I'm trying to make sure my battery stay on for y'all. Even if she doesn't want to, it'll start to get her in that place that she wants to be intimate with her husband. And so it's important, guys, to continue that piece. When you get married, it doesn't stop because you got married. You don't stop pursuing your wife. You don't stop like wooing your wife. You don't stop making your wife feel like she's the only woman for you, like she's total desirement for you.
Well, I think I said this on the last scope there. I think, the issue is a lot of men, we do get lazy sometimes. I can attest to that from time to time. And what happens is we get so comfortable just doing the basic stuff. And so that just leave us out to thinking that, okay, if I keep doing the basic stuff, I'm going to keep getting what I want out of the situation. So, men, this is a message for us. We have to step our game up. We have to continue to, woo your wife. You have to do the things. I mean, do some exciting stuff, man. Do some great, nasty, out of the way stuff. This is the only way that you are going to be able to keep your wife happy and to keep your wife satisfied. Okay, so we're going to try to get to answering some of the questions. We're going to have to scroll back down because I see a lot of comments coming through. And so going back to what I was just saying. So we was talking about the men's giving their women intimacy. And I was saying the other day that, just 3 minutes ago, we don't have to, men don't want to do that every time. We don't want to be the one who have to, get in the bed or throw rose petals or do whatever, the woman may want or desire that she needs. We don't want to do that every time. Sometimes we as men like to be desired as well. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we as men want to, get thrown on the bed and get rolled around the room and too. We want to feel wanted too.
And you know what? And I think.
But I think most men see, Ken, I feel what you're saying, but I think from conversations, I think most men have gotten comfortable. Mm-hmm. And I understand. I'm not the ordinary guy either. Mm-hmm. What happened to just walking in the house with your Timberland boots on in the room, walking in the room naked with Timberland boots on? Yeah. What happened to that? Or what happened to going out on the back porch? Mm-hmm. Or going out in the front porch, exploring. Mm-hmm. And so we don't do that anymore. People don't want to do that anymore.
Well, and I think, see, the crazy thing to me is that you have a lot of people that will have sex outside of marriage. But when you get married, they get into this routine, or I'll say that will have explorative sex. And then when you get in marriage, they get into a routine where it's no longer adventurous. We're no longer learning each other. We're no longer exploring together. We're not making it exciting.
Well, let me ask you this. Some people, for the guys who are not so exciting. Now, should a woman, and ladies, you can answer this question as well. Mm-hmm. For a woman, shouldn't you teach a man, what moves you? Mm-hmm. You should be giving him some kind of leeway. If you know that this husband of yours or the person that you're going to marry is not moving in the direction that you're moving in, shouldn't you be guiding him like, hey, this way?
Yeah, but see, the problem with that is you can do that if you have effective communication. If you know how to communicate effectively, you can absolutely have that kind of discussion. You can absolutely tell your spouse, look, I need you to do it this way. I like when you do this. I do not like this. I don't like that position. I don't want to try that. You got to be able to have those kind of conversations in marriages. Where so many marriages are lacking is that when it is said, it's like a blow to your ego. Now I can't even tell you what I want and what I need because your manhood is now in jeopardy because I said I didn't like it that way or I said that wasn't pleasing to me. You got to be able to receive what someone tells you in your marriage. You got to be able to receive the information, take it and use it. Don't take it as a slight or don't take it as a jab to you. Take it as, hey, my wife, I need to learn what my wife likes. I need to be able to make sure that I can please my wife. Take it as a coaching moment because, look, in marriages, we're going to have to coach each other. Like, nobody comes in this marriage game and knows how to play the game. You're two very different people. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to learn each other. Ronald has to learn Rachel, and Rachel has to learn Ronald. So you have to learn each other. You have to learn what each other like. Learning what each other likes and the way to win, you got to be coachable.
Let's correct that.
What?
I don't have to learn you. I explore you.
Okay, babe. Okay. Whatever you want to call it. But at the same time, you gotta be willing to be coachable. If you're not coachable in marriage, guys, you're not gonna be married long. You gotta be coachable. Period. Don't get in your feelings about somebody coaching you. Like at the end of the day, the focus is to win. And so if I coach you to my needs, we're winning, dude. Like, we're winning because you're giving me what I need. If he coaches me to his needs, I'm winning because I'm giving him what he needs. And so there's no need to step outside the marriage for anything else because he's coaching me to what he needs. And so I'm going to play my position and give him what he needs to.
Even the scope,
he blacked
even
you
this
out
came
when you
out.
said that crazy stuff. So I ain't have to show out on Facebook.
No, what I'm saying is it's just a saying that if you want to start in 5.
I am the 5. Like that's what it comes down to. When you're coachable in a marriage, you are the 5. You are everything that they need. And what I guess what men have to understand is if you're having a problem with your wife giving you enough sex, I guarantee you at the root of that is a deficit in affection. I guarantee you, if there's an issue with your wife being intimate, either there's an issue with affection, or if there was some infidelity there, they're not at a place where they trust you enough to be sexual. And that's something you got to work through, guys. Women just don't shut down sex for no reason. Because women desire sex. Let's be clear. We all like to have sex with our spouses. Yeah. Women desire sex. We don't just cut off sex for no reason. So at the root of it, men have to learn how to get to the root of why I'm in a sex drought. And that comes from having an open, honest conversation. If you can't talk about sex with your spouse, you already at a deficit. If we can't have a real conversation about my needs being met, if we can't have a real conversation about our last sexual episode together, and you can't take what I have to tell you and really dissect it, ingest it, we talk about it, we process it, and we move forward, we're gonna struggle in our marriage. We gotta be able to talk about it, guys. It's so many people out here willing to be side pieces only for that reason. Because they want to get with somebody too that they feel like, okay, he married or she married. They're not going to be out here sleeping with everybody. So if they just kicking it with me, then at least I know they kind of safe. That's how people think. And so they'll be willing to be a side piece with your husband or your wife, you know what I'm saying, to get that need met. But you don't have to go outside when you're full. I tell people this all the time. If I'm eating the type of foods that I like that are readily available to me at this particular place, I'm going to go to where I'm being fed. Yeah. I don't start looking anywhere else to be fed until I start starving. That's why you cannot starve your spouse out of your marriage. And a lot of times we do it, and then we want to hide our hands like, oh my God, I don't know why he cheated, or oh my God, you know what I'm saying, I don't know what's going on. No, you know, you ain't slept with that man in 4 months. 4 months, regardless of what's going on, you ain't slept with him in 4 months.
So, let's get to that. So, if things are not going right in the marriage, should the woman shut down sex?
No, I don't think if things are not going right, you should shut down sex. But I do think you should have a conversation. Now, to me, shutting down sex ain't, okay, bro, you ain't got it in a week. That ain't truly, to me, shutting down sex. Shutting down sex, to me, is like if you... It goes weeks at a time. It's intentional. You're purposely not being intimate with your wife or with your husband. I think that's where the danger comes in. And you shouldn't do that. If you have a problem in a marriage, you should be able to talk about it like adults do and work it out. It doesn't take me now. That's almost like little kids. Like, oh, you didn't share your cookie, so no, I'm not going to give you none of my donut. Or you didn't let me play with your dinosaurs, so you can't see my Legos. Like, no, we're not 2 or 3 years old. We got to have a conversation.
So the thing is, I'll share my dinosaur with you. And let me eat your. But let me play.
I knew you were gonna take my. No, I knew you were gonna take my analogy and just
I love the cookies
totally
and donuts.
Pervert it. I mean,
I love the cookies and donuts.
Oh my God, no! But honestly, we cannot do that in marriage. We got to be able to talk about it. So if me and you, like, we've been through this, and we're very transparent in what we do and when we coach. We've been through this very same 2 things that we talking about now. We've had our own battle about it: intimacy and sex. We've had our own battle about it, and we've talked about it and processed through it. And we both had to learn that me not getting what I need does not mean that you can't get what you need either. Like, so we can't keep being in this tug of war, exhausting energy, and nobody's need being met. Somebody has to yield first. And I think that's the piece that nobody wants to do.
I was say nobody wants to be the bigger person.
No, because they don't want to feel played.
Nobody wants to be played.
Yeah. And so that's the thing. So you end up like, oh, well, if they gonna hold out, I'm gonna hold out. And then next thing you know, you around the house, y'all ain't talking. You don't even say goodbye before you leave in the morning. You don't kiss her no more like you used to. You don't call and check on her. You know what I'm saying? It's like, come on, we can't do that. We got to be able to sit down and talk about it. And so if I got an issue with my husband being affectionate with me, I'm going to say, look, babe, I got an issue with the affection. Like, I need you to kick it up. And this affects me in this way. I'm not trying to hold sex from you, but I really don't have a desire to have sex with you, dude, and I feel like XYZ. We got to be able to talk about it.
So another question for the lady. What happens when your husband has never been taught intimacy? Like he don't know.
Yeah.
He don't understand intimacy. He never been in an intimacy relationship.
Yeah.
From his past experience, it's just been, okay, I get it, I'm gone. Or she desired me so much, I get what I want, and then I'm out. And so, with us, it's easy for us to fall into that trend of like, I get what I want. I wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, and I'm out the door. I don't know how to get that intimacy. I don't know how to be romantic. So what does that look like? And I know a lot of people can say, Google it. And you can Google it.
I'm going to go into them. Let me answer Karen's question real quick. I mean, Karen, at the root of it, always there. At the root of it, it's always, so it's like, is it not a bigger issue like rebellion to God's word that opens the door to demonic influence? Absolutely. I think any time that you step outside of God's guidance, you absolutely will be led astray, tempted, and all of those things. But we want to bring it to the very realistic, very real, what happens day to day type of influence. So I don't want to go just solely into the spiritual world that you lose everybody that doesn't have that spiritual connection going on. Because understand, anytime that you're at a place where you're starving, where you're almost clinging to life for a need that you have, a lot of people's first thought isn't, let me go take it to God. A lot of people's not.
No.
And that's how, and see, why we got to understand this, because you got people in ministry that are very close to God, that have a very good relationship to God, that step outside of their marriage. So at the core of it, it's not a disconnection with God. It goes to a real problem. It goes to, how do you really deal with the issues that you have when somebody is getting deprived in a marriage? We got to start having real conversations on talking and working things out. And so I think, like, when you just asked a question, babe, how do women, if your husband isn't somebody who has been taught how to be affectionate and hasn't seen affection in his family growing up, I think what you do, like we were just talking about, you coach it. Because women like different things. Like, there's so many ways to be affectionate. So many. It's a vast majority of ways to be affectionate. You have to find out what works for your spouse. And so I think the first step in that is communication. It's talking to your wife, sitting her down. Hey, babe, okay, tell me some things that you love. Like, what will really just blow your mind? What would you love for me to do that will make you feel like I'm being affectionate towards you?
But most of the time, women want you to read their mind. And we have two different types of mindset. Because what I think will blow your mind may not blow your mind. And so that's the whole point of us coming together to communicate about, okay, what blows your mind? So, and most women be like, well, you should know me. You should know, you should know what blows my mind.
And unfortunately, we do get frustrated when we've been with somebody years and we feel like, okay, dude, really, I got to teach you now how to, like, what if your wife don't talk? Howard, if your wife doesn't talk, that's a big problem. If your wife doesn't talk, that's a big problem. But one thing I will say, there's so many books out there. There's so much research on just typically what women identify as affectionate, that you could get it from those places and feed it to her without her saying anything. And the more you feed it to her that way, it may break down the wall of her not communicating. So you don't have to necessarily get it from her if she isn't willing to talk. What you do is research and you get the knowledge and then you begin to feed it to her. And when she says, well, this is not what I consider affectionate, then you say, well, I tried to talk to you about what you needed. And since I didn't know and I couldn't get that from you, I gave you what I found out about. So please tell me what you need. Tell me what works for you. That's how you it doesn't, just because somebody doesn't verbalize it, doesn't take away the responsibility as a husband to find out how to give it to them. So it's still just like for a wife, just because you may not know all the ways that your husband may want to be pleased sexually, that doesn't take away from your responsibility to please him that way. And for you to learn, all of that is teachable. All of that you can be learned.
And I was going to say, who was that? Howard. I was going to say, just learn her language. Because her language may be physical touch. So talking may not do it for her. So doing may do it for her. Maybe texting, or maybe leaving notes, maybe emails. And so I don't know what, when you say not talking, give me a little bit more on that.
And I would say, too, guys, if you just observe a woman, you will see what she's into. If you observe the type of movie she watches, if you observe the type of romance movies she likes, because there are different type of romance movies. So if you observe and sit and watch a movie that she is head over heels about, a romance movie, I guarantee you in that movie are things that she identifies as affectionate. And if you do those things, that it will speak to her, that it will move her, that she will be impacted by it. You don't even have to, she don't have to speak. You just got to observe her.
And I was talking about this last time on the scope, man. First, this is for the men.
Yeah.
Men, this is what I was talking about last time. You must know your wife.
Yeah.
You must understand your wife. You must love your wife. When you know your wife, you know what moves her. You know what she like. And when you understand her, you understand that, hey, at this time of the month, I know she don't want to be bothered. I know at this time of the month, my wife like to drink drinks because, you know, her body is going through changes. No, I'm just saying.
Put all the business out there.
No, I'm just saying because I know my wife.
Yeah.
I know her every move. I know when it's this time of month, I know exactly what she likes.
Okay.
I know I need to get her a 2-liter drink and I need to bag up. And so get to know your wife. Know when her menstrual cycle is.
Yeah.
Know when it comes on. Know when it goes off.
Yeah.
Know that in the beginning of the year, the first quarter is at the beginning of the month.
Yeah.
The second quarter of the year is in the middle of the month.
Yeah.
The last quarter of the year is at the end of the month. Those are things that we should know.
Yeah.
And so when you know those things, you understand her body. You know that her body is going through chemical imbalance and changes. And so you don't be so. And also, I mean, I don't mean to jump the subject, but also we as men have to be willing to accept rejection. When you're trying to intimacy, this is how I learned.
Yeah.
You try different things. So if you get rejected, you don't know, I got to try something else. You try something else, you get rejected. Oh, it's cool.
Yeah.
So I need to try something else. This is what we call exploring.
Yeah.
I was just talking to y'all about this last week. Dora the Explorer. Every time she come on,
Yeah.
she is exploring something. She
Yeah.
is going somewhere. She is trying something.
Yeah.
Likewise, in your marriage, when you're in your marriage, you should explore your wife. You should know her eyeliner. You should know the makeup that she wears. You should know if she like boots. You should know if she like high heels. You should know if she like waist dress, high waist dresses.
Yeah.
You should know if she like long dresses. You should know if she like lace front. You
Yeah.
should know if she like sew-ins. You should know if she like small weave, short weave. You should know all of those things.
Yeah.
You should know if she like crimson lipstick. These are the things. Crimson, you ain't letting you repeat
Oh,
that.
God.
You should know the names of these things.
Yeah.
This is what taking the time out to know what somebody like.
Yeah.
You should know the type of blush that your wife put on.
Yeah.
MAC. If you don't know those things, you are losing, my
Yeah,
friend.
yeah.
Take the time out. Go shopping with your wife.
Yeah.
Now, I don't really like to go
Yes,
shopping with
Ken,
my
her scent.
You should know her scent. And this is what I do. I typically, the things that turn me on about my wife, the smell, the scent that I love most, I go into the perfume shop and I see what moves me, what turns me on. Boom. So if I get that for my wife, I know if she spray that on, hey, this is what moved me. This is what I like.
Yeah.
So when she walked past me, I just want to eat the air. I just get high off the air.
Man,
This
oh my
is
God.
what I do.
You do.
And so this is what I'm saying. Take the time out.
Yeah.
Take a week
Yeah.
and observe your wife.
Yeah.
When she wake up in the morning, what is the very first thing that she do?
Yeah.
You know, did she go to the restroom?
Yeah.
Do she come back to the bed?
Yeah.
You know, these are the things. What type of pad do your wife wear?
Yeah, yeah.
Do she like tampon?
Yeah.
Do she like, you know, the thin one? Do she
Yeah.
like the thick one? Do she
Yeah.
like the middle one?
Yeah.
The one overnight one?
Yeah.
These are things. We laughing about it, but this is the thing that we
should
should
know
take
your
out
spouse.
and should know. And when you take the time out to learn all these different things, this is when you begin to master what your wife like. Now, it's not a complete book on this, but it's a start. And so you could never master because we always growing. We
Yes,
always going to
Demetra.
different levels. And so, but at least you are keeping up with the trend.
Yeah.
I know exactly what moves my wife. I know what turns her on. I know what turns her out. I am the atmosphere setter. I know how to set the atmosphere for this woman. You see how she started smiling when I said that? Because I know how to do that. Mention, y'all, my hand is here. I have not touched this woman not
my
one time.
God. Really,
and here
babe?
it is. She is turned on by these things that I am saying right now. I can give you a
got
prime
it.
example. My wife was feeling some type of way this morning, and not knowing that on Sunday I had already set up a arrangement, an edible arrangement to be delivered at her job.
Yeah.
My wife only go to the office at least 2 to 3 times a month.
Yeah.
Right? And so I planned this and say, okay, when you going to the office on Monday? She said, yeah. I didn't ask her no more. I went on and had the arrangement set up, sent the arrangement there. 2 o'clock, boom. She called me. Oh, thank you. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, so what you do when you do something nice and sweet like this? Don't pick up your phone. You let her continue to keep calling you. So this is how you do it. You don't act all like, oh, you like that? No. She call you, she going to keep calling. Don't answer the phone until 30 minutes, approximately 30 minutes later. Then you pick up the phone.
Dimitri, yeah.
And so these are the things, man. This is, and I'm saying it because I done been through the laziness. I done been through the minute man stage. I done been through the wham, bam, thank you, ma'am stage. And then I also have been to the TP2 stage where I take my time with my wife and I explore her.
TP2?
Oh, yeah. I'm an R. Kelly fan, so if you don't know about TP2, all the way back to the first 12 play, you don't know, you don't understand who I am. But this is what I'm talking about when I say to know, to understand, and to love. This is what women look at when these are the things that women look at.
Yeah.
They want to know if you know them.
Yeah.
They want to know that you understand them.
Yeah.
They want to understand that you love them and that you can give them the intimacy that you need, that they need.
Yeah.
When you can do all four of those, when you can master those four things, you are winning.
That's it.
Hands down.
Yeah.
This is why you have loser guys who are winning.
Yeah.
Let me say this again. This is why you can look at a guy and say, man, how did he get her? Because what he did was he took the time to know her. He took the time to understand her. And sexually, he took the time out to know her body. Know what moves her, what she like. He mastered her. And so now, when he's not doing what he's supposed to do, she's still running behind him because she can't find someone to master what she needs.
Yeah. So, babe,
hold up. She can't find the thing that master her, so she have to masturbate. And I just want to throw that out there.
Wow.
She can't find the thing that master her, so she had to masturbate.
Wow.
So,
all right, now I can't. I wanted to jump on how I was coming because I saw he said trying to save my marriage, but when the spouse won't communicate, what do you do? And so how I would say this, I want you to like inbox us on MBG after this so we can get a little more detail to guide you a little more than what we get on the feed while we're on the live scope because it doesn't allow us to kind of delve into some of the dynamics to give you the best advice that we could. So if you inbox us, we'll definitely respond right back to you with some advice to try to help you break that communication barrier.
And can I give you two things that are going to help you? I'm going to give you two things that are going to help you. They're just to scratch the surface. Humbleness and love. One thing about love, man, love conquers all.
Absolutely.
I don't care if you have a crazy person. You begin to shower that person with love. You're going to conquer that person.
Absolutely.
Conquer that person. Love is everything. And humbleness. Humbleness whenever. See, this is the problem. Most of the people, and when you're having problems in a marriage, nobody wants to be humble.
Absolutely.
Because humble forces you to bring out the humility. And the humility don't feel good at all because what the humility says is not that you're going to be a doormat for this person, but you're willing to lay down and think about them versus
more than
yourself.
You. Absolutely.
So if you're not willing to think about that person, and that can go mentally, physically, and sexually.
Yeah.
When you are having sex, you have to think about the other person more than yourself.
Absolutely.
Mentally.
Yeah.
When you go out, and my wife does it all the time. If my wife go out to eat right now, she don't have to call and say, I'm going to bring you something. She always thinking about, no, let me get a to-go plate. Me, on the other hand, I haven't mastered that. Because it's not, it don't cross my mind.
Yeah.
But her, she have mastered that. She have mastered that area of humility and thinking about me before she think about herself. And that's how it should be vice versa.
Yeah. And so I'll say this because Howard say humble makes you feel bad when you're trying and they're not. No. That's the importance of having your marriage founded on God. And truly having a relationship. That's why I said we got kind of talk behind the scenes so I won't get off of focus on this scope. But that's the importance of knowing God. Because so many times, if you truly are saying that you're going to have the type of love that God requires us to have in a marriage, that's agape love. That's a selfless type of love. Yeah. That's a love that when I'm not getting what I need, I'm still willing to give my spouse what they need. That's a love that says, even when my needs aren't met, I'm going to work to meet your needs. A lot of people never get to that place because they never understand God. They never have a relationship with God to know that he does that every day for us. And so anytime that your love is conditional, you will never be able to humble yourself. You will never be able to humble yourself in a way to change your spouse's behavior. You will never be able to humble yourself in a way that is impactful to shift and change your marriage. And so you got to take your focus off of self and place your focus on your spouse and place your focus on God. Because in God, you will get the strength to do what you need to do for your spouse, and it will take the focus off of you and your needs not being met in that time. Now, this is not something that you should be doing for 15 years. Like, it shouldn't take 15 years to change behaviors, but it may take some time. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. You're going to have some setbacks. That's fine. That's normal. Everybody goes through that, but you got to be willing to work through it. And you got to have, that's why we always talk about marriage circle and having the right type of people around you and having the right type of influence and having the right type of people to speak into your marriage and encourage you and support you and guide you. When you don't have that, you find yourself frustrated and feeling like you're in something alone that everybody experiences in their marriages. What you're talking about is not something that a lot of marriages don't experience.
Yeah, and another thing that what you just said was a good point. When you don't have a marriage circle around you, you have ungodly people who are going to give you ungodly advice, which causes you to do something ungodly. But when you have godly people around you and you go to them advice, they're going to hit you with the word. Absolutely. And they're going to make you think. Absolutely. So this is the whole point of Married by God. Married by God is not to, I won't say to influence you to do something, but we do Married by God. Our whole focus for Married by God is to make you think. Yeah. If we can make you think, we have done our job. Yeah. And not just like, okay, I'm just going to go off and do this. Yep. No, our job is to open up some doors and make you think. That's the whole point of this scope. When we do live scope, it's to open up your mind and make you think. Yeah. Yes, we're a Christian and we're talking about sex. You know why we talk about, and you know why I talk about sex so much? Because it is not talked about in the church. Because everything that goes wrong is the devil. No, it's not the devil. It's you. It's you. You have to change your thoughts. You have to change the things that you are doing. You have to change the way that you act.
Yeah. The word said, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Like, so really it comes down to what you put into your heart, what is in your heart. And I saw you, Howard, you said, but you can't change people unless they want to be changed. See, the misconception is that we can change people.
You cannot change nobody.
We change nobody.
Only
nobody
God can change
that's
the person.
it. And that's the problem. You cannot expect to change your wife. God is going to be the changer. All you can do, like Rana said, is water the seed and try to create the atmosphere for change. You're not going to be the one that changes the heart. That's only God that touches and changes the heart in a marriage or in a spouse. All you can do, water the seed, create the atmosphere for change. That's all you can do. And then you take your hands off of it. But that's what it comes down to. But we're talking about so we won't get too far away. But Howard, feel free to inbox us. But we're talking about two things that people need, and I guess I want to go back through here and see some of this that we're talking about. And so, by no means for people jumping on here do we want you guys to think that we condone extramarital affairs or we condone you stepping outside your marriage. No, there is a way to not do it. Like, there's a way not to desire it. There's a way for it not to even come into play for you. We have been married now going on 11 years, been together for about 17, and it has been us. It's been no outside. And it's never been a desire to, because we are totally in tune with each other. We desire trying to learn each other, grow with each other, and give each other what we need. And when you do that, you're able to sustain your marriage.
And also, you have to have real conversations. Yeah. When you can look your spouse in the face and understand that your spouse is not perfect.
Yes.
Your spouse will fail you.
Yes.
You have to understand that.
Guaranteed.
Once you understand that your spouse is not perfect and your spouse will fail you.
Come on, babe.
Because
that's word. That's it.
Word. And
that's awesome. Babe, that's the truth. Because I think so many people put a high standard expectation on their spouse.
On their spouse, yeah.
And when they don't meet that unrealistic high standard expectation, we want to crucify them.
And they do the same thing with pastors.
Yeah.
When your pastor go do something wrong, they're like, oh my God, he's a pastor. He done did. No. Yeah. He's a man.
Yeah.
You know, the same excitement that I get, he get the same excitement. Yeah. And so we have to understand that it's no different. When you can look at your spouse and understand that your spouse is not perfect. Your spouse will make mistakes. Your spouse will fail you. Yeah. Because one thing we have come to the conclusion is we both understand and know that we can cheat if we want to. I can very well cheat and get away with it, and she will not find out. She very well can cheat and not find out, and me not find out. But the thing is, it's all about, do you want... I ain't worried about disappointing her. I'm worried about disappointing God.
That's it.
So this bigger than her.
That's it.
It's bigger than her. And just to counter on what we was talking to, I think Derek. Once you get to a point where you understand that it's not about you, Howard. When you understand that it's not about you, it's about God. Your marriage is all about God. Because somebody is right now is watching your marriage.
Yeah.
They're watching every step that you make,
Yep.
every step that your wife makes,
Yep.
and how you react.
Yep.
See, this is what really makes a man. How a man react to a problem
Yeah.
defines who he really is.
That's it. That's it.
See, if you really want to know what kind of man you got, let a situation hit the fan.
Absolutely.
And see how he reacts.
Absolutely.
See what his response is. Tell your husband that the sex wasn't good last night. And see how he responds. It's one or two things that he's going to do. His feelings going to be hurt, or he's going to try to come back stronger.
Yeah. Yeah.
My thing is, come back strong.
Yeah. That's it. That's it. Because we all got to be able to take constructive criticism.
We
It's
have
no
to.
different than when you're at your job and your boss says, hey, you turned in this report. It was great, but I need you to kind of fix these little things. We get in a marriage and we get mad when our spouse says, hey, it was good, but I need you to fix these little things.
Yeah.
Like, nobody said it was absolutely horrible. I said it was good, but I need you to fix these little things. It's the
Yeah.
same thing. We got to be
You had
able
to
to
patch it
take
up.
it.
You had to patch
Yes,
it up.
we got to be able to take constructive criticism. And I want to say this because I know we got a mixture of different people and at different stages of belief on the scope. And I want to say this because I see us do this a lot in church, and this is why people don't talk about stuff like this in church.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times we always want to put just the spiritual lens on it, and we don't want to see the normality of somebody not having something that they need and they desire, and how easy it is to be tempted and fall short. And so I saw some comments about, well, if they're Christian, why are Christians cheating, or they shouldn't be cheating. There are a lot of people in the Bible that had a real relationship with God, that had a talk to kind of God, that God talked to you back kind of relationship that fell short. I want us to understand and stop being so judgmental and stop being so unrealistic when we're looking at how easy it is for whether you're a Christian, whether you're a non-Christian or not, how easy it is to step outside of your marriage when you're feeling deprived. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about you cheating because you're selfish, and you cheating because you're just greedy, and you cheating because that's just what you want to do. We're truly talking about people who step outside of their marriage because they're no longer able to receive from their spouse what they need, because their spouse has chosen to cut off sex, or their spouse has chosen to cut off affection. That's what we're talking about. And if you don't want to believe that it's very easy for infidelity to happen, talk to some of the people that we talk to. And these very same people that have a great relationship with God, that serve God, that are in ministries, it's real. It happens to us all.
Watch this. Let me just, for all the Bible scholars, I'm not a Bible scholar, but I know a little something. Now, who was the man that God, this is God.
After
the
God's own
man
heart.
said, this is what God told David. He said, this is the man after my own heart. And for those of you who may not know what David did, David was one of the great rulers, the great kings. David sent the man to war, slept with his wife, had the man killed, and had a baby by the man's wife.
And then he married her.
And married her.
And had his own baby.
And had his own baby. And guess what? This is the same man that God said, this is the man after my own heart. So this is why we talk about, so this is why we say, don't keep blaming the devil for everything. And I know we as Christians, we have a thing about doing that. Sometimes it's us. Maybe you might be the devil. Maybe it's some things that you need to pull that God need to deliver you from. Maybe you need to purify your heart.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so let me go back to, and even if you want to go back and read this, you can go back to Psalms 51. It talks about what God said. What David said to God. He said, God, I have sinned against no one
but you.
Absolutely. Please
Yep.
forgive me. So he was so sincere with what he had did.
Yeah.
He realized what he did was wrong. And he was so sincere about it. And he went to God and said, man, I have sinned against you. Please forgive me. And so not that I'm condoning sex, but I want to show the story, paint the picture of that things do happen.
Yeah.
And that this was a Christian man. This is a man who followed Christ.
Yeah.
And he failed.
Yeah. Somebody asked us, why don't y'all have y'all wedding band on the left hand? Our wedding bands are on the left hand. It may be the way you're looking at it on the video, but they're on left hands.
Oh, yeah. Let me tell you.
So I just want to say, I just want to say this, because we get so much into like, you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that. If you believe in God, you shouldn't do this. We all sin and fall short.
Yeah, we do.
We all do. And if you think that you're the type of Christian out there and you live in 100% to the word of God, you are falsely misled. Like, we all fall short. There's no reason, like, there's no condoning of stepping outside of marriage, but it happens and it's very real. And you can get to a place where you force your spouse's hand to make a choice.
Yeah.
Now, they make the choice. They understand that they make the choice to step out, but you can force somebody to have to make a choice. And that's the piece that we don't want to be honest about. We don't want to be honest that we put our spouses in a position sometimes that they have to make a choice about whether or not they're going to live in this marriage frustrated or they're going to go outside and get their need met. A lot of people don't want to have that real conversation. So we go along pretending like we do, that we happy in marriage, pretending, and you miserable. And nobody's connected. Nobody's together. Nobody's getting affection. Nobody's having sex. And you really don't love each other. And you really don't desire each other. And then you want to say, that's how God wants you to live? That's not true. And anybody that tells you that God wants you to have a miserable marriage, that's a falsehood. God said he come that we may have life and have it abundantly. And I want my marriage to have an abundant marriage. And there's some certain things you have to do to have an abundant marriage. And part of that is being able to have great communication and talking about your needs and not sitting here and depriving your spouse of what they need. Because those who say, well, that's selfish if he go get it somewhere and not deprive it. No, the Bible also talks about you having a responsibility of sex, a responsibility to get an obligation of sex to your spouse. So if we're going to go technical on everything in the Bible, understand it and read it for what it is. We're trying to talk about this thing because so many people are out here skating around the issue, giving this falsehood that infidelity shouldn't happen in the Christian community and it doesn't happen and all of this other stuff. And all the while, you got all these people cheating because they can't have a conversation about their needs.
Okay. Great job. That was great. So I want to answer one of the other questions. I think there was Alexandra. She said, what if what if your schedule, you have conflicting schedules and you're starting to live as roommates? Do you see that?
So what if you got conflicting schedules and you're starting to live as roommates?
Yeah, I think time become an issue together, being together and being affectionate. So we just live like roommates now.
Yeah. Chanel, that did happen. The baby did die. He was punished. And God always comes back and gives everybody their due punishment.
Oh, yeah, you're going to get it.
But yeah, so what you're saying is I think it comes down to still communication. So if you got two people that are on alternate schedules, and we have couples that we talk to like that, they're on alternate schedules. I think you have to make more of an effort and you got to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Intentional about having that time together. And so just because we're on alternate schedules doesn't take away the desire for either one of us. We both now got to be a little bit more creative on how we can give each other what we need, how we can meet each other's need. And so sometimes that may come on you guys taking a little time off, scheduling your time so that you can have that time and valuing the time that you do have together. A lot of times when we find people on alternate schedules, the time that they do have together, they spend arguing. They spend wasting with other people and not with each other. Yeah. So what you got to do is maximize the time you do have. Be creative in trying to find time that you can be together when your schedules are alternate. And then you got to prioritize. I tell people all the time, the first priority in your life is God. After that is your spouse when you're married. Nobody, nothing, not your job, not your kids, not your family. None of that comes before your spouse. So the only thing that comes before that is God. And so if something is in your life that is taking away the time needed to invest in your marriage and to grow your marriage, that is a problem. And what you got to do now is put that back in its priority line, because what you've done is allow it to come into priority number one, and it shouldn't be there. So it's now priority over your spouse when you need to prioritize it and put it back where it needs to go. And so that's really what it comes down to, just prioritizing your spouse. And something that takes you away from your spouse and takes you away from desiring sex with your spouse, spending time with your spouse, giving your spouse affection or love, that's something that's detrimental to your marriage. And that's something that's out of priority at the time, and you got to place back into priority.
And one thing you guys can do, you can schedule a day off. You know, if you have to schedule a day off every month or every other month to make that time work and you just spend the whole day together, that's one idea that you can do.
Yeah. And I guess you going through them?
I'm trying to catch them as they come up.
Yeah. Open for faith, open for growth, open to understand.
Okay, what if communication on it, but the need are not being met? What are we talking about, Underwood?
Oh, okay.
No,
You just need clarity.
Yeah. We need clarity on that question. What if you communicate on it, but it's not, the need is not being met?
Look, and look, y'all, at the root of everything, like Ronald said, MBG is all about really just trying to talk about marriages in a way that so many people don't have access to, that so many people don't talk about. Like every time we talk about a marriage circle, we see people that are like, well, I don't have that. I'm not around married people that are positive. Married people I know, they're negative. I don't see people with successful marriages. And a lot of times the way that we grow and learn is by being around other people that are thriving in an area that we are growing, that we're new in, or that we're trying to get better in. When you're around those people that are doing it successfully and that are happy, that are joyous, and you're gleaning from them, you can feed and grow your marriage.
Yeah, and that's the whole point, man. It's like the people who you around have an influence on who you're going to become. So if you're hanging around a loser, I don't know if you remember, man, a old saying used to say, a birds of a feather flock together. And I really never understood this phrase until I got a little bit older. Because now the people that you hang with, if you talk a certain way, you'll begin to talk like them. When you hang around successful people, your mindset start to change, because now you start saying, man, I never thought about that. Because you start seeing and hearing things that you never thought about.
Absolutely.
Likewise, when you're around people who have successful marriages, guess what? You start thinking about, man, I need to try that. Oh, I didn't know that worked. Excuse me, that worked like this, or maybe I need to do this way. I wasn't trying it this way. I didn't know that worked. Or should I communicate this way? So it's things that when you have a marriage circle around you, for one, they constantly praying. You constantly start to pray for each other. That's going to be your one of your main forces, your main power that's going to work with you.
Absolutely.
When you have that marital circle.
Absolutely.
Because whether you know it or not, we constantly praying for people. We constantly praying for married by God. We always pray for, if anyone is in our marital circle, or who knows us, we constantly, and who is married or not married, we even pray for those who are single to get married. And so we constantly praying for our friends, and we hope that you guys are praying for us.
Yeah. And so one thing I'll say, because I think Daniel was asking, what if you communicate on it, but the need is not being met? So what if you communicate about a need, a sexual need, like your sexual need not getting met, but and it still doesn't change, and it's still like they still don't meet that need?
Well, I think one of the things you got to do, and I always tell people this, you have to be tactful. And so this is where the exploring come in at. So you got to start trying different avenues, because your approach that you're coming at may not be working. And you trying to come through the side door when the front door is open. Or the back door is open.
That's a good
and so you have to keep, and that's why I said men, one of the things that men hate most is rejection. But what you have to do is you have to put that shield up. When it comes to rejection, put that shield up, knock it out the way, and open your heart back up. Because this is the only way that you're going to be able to penetrate the heart of the woman. The heart of the woman. And most 95% of the women are emotional. And so this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with the one of the most emotional creatures on the world, in the world. And so when dealing with them, you have to also be emotional. You can't be, so hard and so physical that you don't even know how to deal with an emotional woman. This is where you're going to lose it. Because you don't know how to be emotional. Now, if you're not intertwined with her emotions, you're going to lose her. Because now it's going to be so easy for someone on the outside to be emotionally connected to her. Because it's simple. That's why I say you got to know, you got to understand, you got to love her. And so once you know and understand her, you can open up to accept that emotional piece. If you ever notice, whenever you're in an argument, the first thing the woman do when she starts arguing, she get loud and start screaming. That's just the emotional piece. If you just sit back, don't say nothing, and listen, respond when needed to, you'll win. And it's not about winning or losing. It's about you taking in what she's saying and digesting it, and then taking action to what she's asking you. Because most of the time when they crying out for emotion, they just simply saying, you're not listening to what I'm telling you. I'm trying to tell you something. So the emotion part comes out. When I'm trying to tell you something and I'm not saying it right because I'm speaking out of emotion and you don't know how to receive emotion, you're going to fail if you don't get it.
And one thing I say, like we said earlier on the scope, one thing about it, the way to get your wife to want to be sexually active is to simply flood her with affection and love. Anytime you flood a woman with affection and love, it's going to hit that spot that turns her on. That's what moves women. It moves us. It's just the way that God designed us. That's why we have the desire for affection. So if you start to shower her with affection, shower her with love, even when she acts like she doesn't appreciate it,
she do.
It will come. It will soon change. It will soon change the dynamics of your marriage.
Because what happens is when you trying to change the marriage and she not acting like she hears you, or she not reacting to what you're doing, she really is.
Yeah.
And so, but she want to see if you're going to work for it.
Yeah.
So this is where the working come in at. And most men, we don't want to work.
Yeah.
We put in a little work and we think, okay, something's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Like you sit up here and you light a firecracker and it's going to pop.
Yeah.
No, she don't want to do that.
Yeah.
She wants you to continue to work. You want to work. You want to work. You want to work. And you have to continue to work at it.
Yeah.
Every day. Marriage is work, mentally work, physically work, and emotional work.
Yes.
And sexually working. You have to always be working. I don't never stop working. I'm always working.
Yeah.
I even work in my sleep.
Yeah.
Even when my wife laying next side of me, I go to rub her leg to let her know, hey, even if you ever feel like doing anything, I'm here.
Yeah. Somebody said, what if she's not affectionate? Majority of women are affectionate.
It's
majority of women. It's something like you were going to say that probably happened.
Yeah.
That stopped her from desiring it, or the affection that you're given isn't the affection that isn't what she identifies as affectionate. And so you got to get down to what is affection for her.
That's what
Either what you're giving her isn't what she classifies as affection, or there's something that stopped the desire for affection. And typically, if you see that, you got some issues, some childhood issues there that has stopped that desire. But typically, women are designed to desire affection. So it's very rare that you find those that are not affection. It just may be the way that you deliver it. Now, I saw Whitley, you said, do y'all believe that married couples should be with each other 24/7, morning, noon, and night?
No. I don't agree with that, and let me tell you why. Mm-hmm. Because you have to you have to find balance. Mm-hmm. And, it's a time that you should be together.
Yeah.
And it's a time that you should be apart. So,
Yeah.
because when you're apart, you allow your spouse to desire you.
Absolutely.
When you together, that's when you get that all the intimate piece that you've been missing when you guys was from apart. Mm-hmm. And so you got to find that balance. Okay, we're going to need a little time away from each other.
Yeah.
And we also want that time where we're going to spend all day together.
Yeah.
Now, it's okay. Now, if you want to spend all day.
Yeah.
Now, we can't spend our whole life just stuck together.
Every day, all
it's
day.
cool. It's cool. Because I'm a workaholic and I'm always gone.
Yeah.
And me and my wife is going through something like that right now.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I spent the whole last week in the house. But guess what? She didn't see me. Because you know what I was doing? I was doing something that she wanted.
Yeah.
She wanted hardwood on the floor. She wanted the house painted. And so all of last week, my wife did not see me. I was in the house, but she didn't see me.
Yeah.
Because I was working from sun up to sundown, sun up to sundown. So this is what I'm talking about.
So I want to say this, babe, not to cut you off.
Go ahead.
Because I think, Whitley, what the root of it comes down to is quantity versus quality. And so a lot of times when you find couples that want a lot of quantity because they're not getting quality. When you're getting quality, you're not so big on the quantity. Because if I can get with my husband, let's say in the week, and we have a date night once a week, and the rest of the week he's running, ripping, and doing whatever, that date night time, if we're together for 3 hours and it's quantity in that date night 3-hour time, it gives me everything that I would have needed in those other 6 days. And so that's what it comes down to. Typically, when you find couples or spouses that are saying, I'm not getting enough time, but they're spending time together, they're getting the time, they're just not getting the quality. So they're not getting what they need met in that time that they're together. And so it's always about quality versus quantity. It's great. Like, I love spending time with my husband. I can be with him all day. But there are times that he gets on my nerves and I get on his nerves and I need to just chill and be by myself and listen to what I want to listen to and do what I want to do. But there are times that I'm with him. Every time that I'm with him, I want it to be a quality moment. I don't want the times that we share to just be quantity. I want it to be quality. And so every time that we're together, what we try to do with each other is maximize the moment. And in that, we try to make sure that it's a quality moment. So we're talking, we're communicating, we're catching up with each other. We're finding out what's coming up for you, what's coming up for me, how the kids doing, what's major. And so that's what it comes down to. It's all about quality. And that's and quality fits in sex and affection too. Because if you're getting quality sex, it doesn't matter that much on how often you get it. If it's quality, if it's meaningful, if it has a connection, if it's pleasing to both spouses and not just pleasing to one. Because typically a lot of times we can come in to marriage and have sex as a married couple and it's very one-sided. And so anytime that you're having sex as a married couple and it's only pleasing to one person, that's a problem. That's a problem.
It is a problem.
That means somebody's being very selfish. Somebody's not trying to meet the needs of somebody else. And a lot of times for women, they will shut down if the sex isn't pleasing. If it's for men, it doesn't matter because we talked about this on the last go. Men, a lot of times, are guaranteed to reach the climax. Not every time is a woman guaranteed to reach a climax. So a lot of times women go into it like, okay, well, I mean, it may happen this time, it may not. So we don't have the same enthusiasm all the time. But men know that if I'm going to have sex, I'm going to climax. That's the whole goal point for men. But it's not always that for women.
But it shouldn't be that way. Men, every time you have sex, you don't have to climax every time that you have sex.
And I know you said that just because we talked about this on the last go. But you said it was like putting a gun to your head and blowing your brains out if you don't. So I know you don't. I know you ain't even serious about it. But no, in all honesty, it's nothing wrong with the climax. I think at the end of it, we have to make sure that we're pleasing each other.
Yeah,
it can't just be about you getting off your stress, you getting what you need, you getting your needs met. It has to be pleasurable to both. It has to be an engagement together that we're connected and we can take it to a different level. And both of us feel like we come out pleased, we come out rejuvenated, we come out connected. And guys, a lot of times the way to throw that intimacy and that affection in, give it after sex. Cuddle with your wife. After you get what you need, take her under your arms. You know, just tell her how much you love her, how much you enjoy her, how much she means to you. That's a great opportunity for affection.
No, I would suggest the guys do that before.
Yeah, and even before, absolutely, because it will take you there anyway.
Yeah, and it will take her there. So that she can climax as well.
Yeah, it's all about working together. Marriage is never about just you. Guys, marriage is never about just you.
Yeah.
It's a partnership. It's a compromise. It's a sacrifice. It's all of those things. And we got to be willing to do that to meet our number one needs, which is sex for men and affection for women. We got to be willing to do that. And when we begin to use those things as weapons, then we make ourselves vulnerable to being attacked, to attacking our own marriage. And you're in marriage together. You're in marriage to win together. And so it's to withhold sex from him doesn't benefit my marriage
at all.
It makes my marriage vulnerable.
It makes it suck. No, seriously. No, I mean, because if you want to have a successful marriage, men, if you want to have a successful marriage, make sure that your wife climax. If you want women, give it up to your husband. Because, you know, it's so many ways, and I kind of got a note on this.
Yeah,
this is how men identify love in a marriage. By sex and respect. This is how men identify love is about sex and respect. The way that women identify love is by intimacy and love. Intimacy and love. That's why the Bible said, husband, love your wife. Your wife need love, and she also need intimacy. When she get that love, she get that intimacy, she is good.
Yeah.
Men, I mean, for the women, men need sex and respect. If you give your husband sex and you give him the utmost respect, you don't never have to worry about your man stepping out and cheating. Because one thing, even with side dudes, they connect with the woman emotionally.
They do.
And they give her that intimacy.
They feed her that, yep.
Yes, and so they would tell her all exotic, you know what I'm saying, all crazy exotic things. Like, man, if you were my wife, I'd just do some things to you, blah, blah, blah. Like, I used to tell my wife all the time, man, my wife looks so fine. I would literally, like, I would eat her front seat.
Yeah.
Like the seat that she sit on, I would really eat all of that. Yeah. And so these are the things that you have to be doing with your spouse. You have to now, like we do a lot of role playing. Even when we go out sometime to eat or if we go out to dance or whatever, we role play. She's no longer my wife. I don't know her. And so sometimes, you know, it's vice versa. So these are the things that you have to look at. That is good, Ken. And so sex and respect, love and intimacy. Yeah. Keep that in mind.
Yeah. And just like we said, be willing to be coachable. Like, be willing to be coachable on both ends. Be willing to be coachable about sex. Be willing to be coachable about affection, because we don't know what's pleasing to our spouses. We have to be willing to learn them. We have to be willing to do what's pleasing to
And
them.
let me jump you off. Do you remember that Michael Jordan and Phil Jackson had a real close relationship? You know why they had a real close relationship? Because Jordan listened to Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson listened to Jordan. And in turn, they won numerous of championships. So likewise, men, you have to be the coach.
Yeah.
You men, first of all, you hands down, you have to be the coach. Because the coaches set the atmosphere and the tone for the players. Because if I can say, come on, man, we're going to win this game. If I railed my wife up to let her know, hey, you're going to climax tonight. In her mind, she already there. She like, okay, what's going to happen? What's going to take place tonight? It's going
I'm down for this.
She down, whatever it is. She take me away. Here I am. See, but these are the things that you have to coach your wife on. You have to coach your wife on, man. Sometimes go home like, look, go get in the shower right now. You don't say nothing. She's like, for what? Go get in the shower. You have to demand these things. And
Get in the shower, anime.
Get in the shower, anime. Matter of fact, don't even tell her to get in the shower. Go run the shower. Go get in the shower. So, but we don't do enough demanding in our relationship. We demand the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Your wife tell you, no, I ain't going to do that. I ain't going to pay this bill. No.
Yeah.
Demand the right thing.
Yeah.
And you will get the right outcome that you was looking for.
Yeah. Yeah.
So man up. This should be
Yeah.
Man Up Monday. You know what? I'm going to start doing the scope called Man Up Monday, and we're going to give tips on, matter of fact, I'm going to host an intimacy class.
Yeah.
Next week, I'm going to host an intimacy class. I'm going to give guys some tips on what, they should do for their wives.
That'd be
And
awesome.
one thing I want you to do, when you do something nice for your wife, don't
Yeah,
expect
Candace.
something in return.
Absolutely.
Every time you do something, see, intimacy don't mean sex.
Yep.
Just because you get intimacy doesn't mean that, hey, okay,
It's going down tonight.
No, that's not the case.
No.
No, that is not the case.
Yeah. Yeah.
Please understand that.
Yeah.
Intimacy don't mean sex.
Yeah. And anytime a woman to make a woman feel like it's affection, it has no like stipulations.
No
to
ties to
It's
it.
yeah. So if you do something for me and you're expecting something, that's not affection. That's you trying to negotiate a deal, dude. That's you trying to get what you want to get. That's not truly you doing it out of the kindness of your heart to be pleasing to me and meet my need. That's to get your need eventually met at the end of it. So women feel affection by you doing it with no expectations behind it. It's just like, babe, I just did it for you. We can cuddle all night. It don't got to be nothing.
Nothing.
That's what moves a woman, and that's what moves a woman to want to continue to give her husband what he needs and what he desires, and to blow his mind.
Now, men, this is one thing.
Tell right, no bribes. Exactly.
Now, men, this is one thing that women don't know. I've been getting on you guys, so now I'm finna take up for you guys. This is the one thing that you don't know. And I'm gonna teach you guys how to master this.
Take up for the guys.
Now, this is what's gonna have to take place. I know everybody thinking that intimacy is the devil, and which it is, because how can you get so close to someone and not have intimacy? But it's all about mind control.
Yes.
You have to have self-control.
Yes.
What is self-control?
Self-control.
It
A
is
fruit of the spirit.
It's controlling self. You have to learn how to have self-control.
Yeah.
I was gonna say something, but look. You should be able, this is what I always tell people. You should be able to do some things with your body mentally. Like, it's things that I can do. And I had to prove this to my wife. It's things that I can do mentally just by holding my wife. No sexual nothing had to take place, but it's things mentally that I can do to my body and have my body
control itself.
controlling myself. So you have to learn how to control yourself. So when you master how to control yourself, yes, you can lay beside your wife and not expect to get any. Because you have something that numbs you, blocks you off from that, and you have something, it's a light switch. Like, you got to learn how to take off. And this is where it comes from. See, I don't take any pills or none of that stuff. So, but when you have self-control, what that allows you to do, you can go 1 minute or 1 hour.
Yeah.
You can go 30 minutes or 3 minutes.
Yeah. But to have self-control, you have to not be selfish.
You cannot be. Well, most men are selfish. I think we were just born with a selfish nature, but I think that's why you have to learn how to control
Said
that.
it's hard when your wife is looking so fine.
Hey, man, I'm with you. I promise you, I'm
It
with you.
is,
And I
guys,
tell
but
my
we
wife-
still want y'all to do it.
And I'm glad that someone else outside of myself is saying this, because I tell my wife this all the time.
It's not an
like,
excuse, though.
It's not one time that my wife, I don't care if my wife is sick with the flu. and just threw up, guess
Clearly.
what? I'm desiring her. Hold the throw up, lean off the bed. I feel you.
Did you say hold the throw up?
Hold the throw up. Because, it's something about when a woman is running a fever and all that heat.
Oh my God, I just can't with you. I just can't
all
with
of that
you.
feels good. See, but these are the things that we don't like to admit. These are the things that we don't like to talk
But
about.
men can't use that as an excuse
No, I'm not
to
using that
not
excuse.
meet the needs of their wife. We understand that, see, the thing about it that women fully understand is that if your husband is going to be close to you in a way that's non-sexual, he's going to have a sexual arousal because he's attracted to you. That's normal. That's what wives want. We want our husbands to desire us. We want that. But we don't want it to be like the overarching theme of everything. We want it to be controlled at times that it needs to be controlled. That's just it.
That's why you have to have
Yeah.
self-control. Because if you, I say, man, I want you to be with somebody who you desire, but control that desire.
Yeah.
I ain't saying flip the switch off to somebody else.
Yeah.
But also flip the switch to the point where when you giving her intimate moment, that moment is all about her.
Yeah.
That is all about her.
Yeah.
It's not about your needs. It's not about how you feel.
Yeah.
That's where the self-control come in at, and you begin to block. You shower your desire with her intimacy.
Yeah.
Man, that's good.
Yeah.
You shower your desire with her intimacy.
That is good.
So basically what you're doing is you letting her win.
Uh-huh.
So if you want intimacy, you got it. I'm going to give that to you. See, but guys, if you really want to win, when you master this, I promise you, if you don't believe it, try it this week.
Yeah.
When you let her win and give her that intimacy, you'll always get it.
So I want to give you a question. Somebody said, "Babe, what if the man can't show emotion?"
What if the man? Okay, if the man cannot, and I'm gonna answer this question both ways. If the man can't show emotion and the woman can't show desire, I think you have to get to the root of why this person is this way. And one of the key things when you are dating someone, or you're with someone, or you marry someone, I think it's always key to go back to the root of where they come from. Because what they're going to tell you, they're going to give you all the action. They're going to give you all how they act, what caused them, what triggered them, what moves them. Because you don't know what happens in someone's childhood begin to affect their adulthood.
Yeah.
Because if someone is molested in their childhood, if you come, like our situation, my wife was molested when she was a child. And so me being an aggressor, when I would come at her aggressively, it triggers her mind to go back to when she was a child. And so now as a husband, I had to go back and get that little girl and pull that little girl out the closet and make that little girl feel safe in order for me to get next to my wife. So when I pull that little girl out her history and say, hey, you safe with me. And I put that little girl here, my wife then comes here.
Yeah.
So likewise, if your husband not showing emotion, go back to his childhood. Because maybe he didn't have a father, or maybe his mother. And most of the time when men don't have emotion, it's something that their mom has done to them, hurt them emotionally. And so it caused them to be numb to emotion. And so
because women typically teach emotion.
And their mom probably didn't teach them emotion. So what you have to do now as the wife, you have to learn how to penetrate that steel plate that is on his heart. So how do you do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You pray about it.
Yeah.
You find tactful ways to bring it out. Because my wife was a very serious person when I first met her. And so now I had to bring, now she's more funny than I am now.
But yeah, that's absolutely true. And see, the thing about it, like you just said, you got to go back to the history. That's why communication is so important, guys, in a marriage. You got to be able to talk about not just the present. You got to be able to talk about the past, especially when the past is so impactful to the present. If it impacts your present, you got to be able to talk about the past. And a lot of that, you just got to have open and honest communication. Like Ronald said, you got to be able to talk about it. The only way you can fix something is to know what's wrong. It's just like doing a recipe and my cake doesn't come out right. I got to go back to the ingredients. What in this mixture didn't I mix well? What didn't I do right? What wasn't what it needed to be? And that's how you got to go in your marriage. We got to take time to communicate and talk. And we got to give each other a little grace, guys. A lot of times we'll have an issue in a marriage and we crucify our spouse. we like just go in. Like we go in about it and we don't give them the grace to learn, like the grace to grow in that area. We don't give them the grace to make some mistakes and then come back and do a better job. And you got to be able to encourage somebody along the way. The worst thing in a marriage is to feel like you're making baby steps and nobody's there at the end talking about, come on, I see you, great job. And you fall and they help you get back up and they say, come on, you can do it, great job. We don't do that in marriage. It's like we expect you to walk. And when you don't walk and you fall down, we go in on you. And that's danger. If you want to see change in your marriage, you got to encourage the good behavior. You got to encourage the baby steps. You got to encourage the small sacrifices, the small opportunities, the small advancements. You got to acknowledge all of those things. And it's not to say you forget about still the goal to get there by themselves, but you encourage the behavior change. You encourage the good things that you begin to see so that they can continue to want to do it, because everybody loves some praise and acknowledgement at the end of it. I seen the question: how do you react when it's time to have sex with your wife and she comes way too aggressive and now the move? Okay, so babe, this question for you. How do you react when it's time to have sex with your wife and she comes way too aggressive and now the mood is off?
Okay, I'm gonna answer this question two ways. It's one or two things that you could do. You can also become overly aggressive. You know, if you got a lioness and she that's when you have to check your mane and you come aggressive with her. Or it's my other way that I'm gonna answer this question is, now what you have to do is you have to become the coach. And what a coach does, he direct his player. That's when you have to tell your wife, hold up, baby, calm down. I'm running this show right now.
Yeah.
And so this is where you become the coach, and you have to let your wife, hey, slow down, wait, hey. This is my show.
Yeah, I see you, Miss Smith.
I need for you to lay down and lay back for a minute. You know what I'm saying? This is, because it shows that she's going to want to run, and it's nights that you're going to have to run your show. But you have to dictate what nights you're going to give her and what nights you're going to take.
Yeah.
And so when she coming off aggressive, that's when you start coaching her back. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes I had to rub my wife on the back and say, calm down. Now, wait a minute. Hey, oh.
Yeah, because I think that each spouse has their moments. And so everybody likes to run the show when they want to run the show. And so if you had intentions on running the show and then here comes wifey and she's taking over, have a conversation like, look, babe, wait a minute. This was my show. Because we do that all the time.
You're the producer.
They're like, wait a minute, I need you to play your role, play your part, but I'm running this. Like, I'm running this show. And so I think just being able to communicate that at this time, babe, it's cute. It's cute. You're trying to be like, but it's killing my mood. I'm really trying to make this happen the way I see it happening. Let me control this. And that's just a conversation. I don't see why somebody would be like, okay, babe, okay, I'll fall back. Do what you do. You know what I'm saying? You got the show today. Okay. So it's really just comes down to having that kind of effective communication and being able to really talk it through. So somebody said, how do you handle when the husband is so focused on doing what's best for the family but overlooks something important like sex and affection?
Hold up, I didn't get that.
How do you handle when the husband is so focused on doing what's best for the family but overlooks something important like sex and affection? And I want to answer this because I think it goes back to what Ronald said about the way that men receive love and the way you communicate with men. So I think respectfully, you got to first acknowledge that you have a husband that is a doer, that he believes in taking care of the family, that he's out here trying to make it happen. That's awesome. You acknowledge that. You praise that in him. But then at the same time, you say, hey, love, look, I appreciate you out here working and doing what needs to be done for our family. But I need you a little bit more in this area. Like, I have a desire for you. I need love from you. All of those things are great, but they're not feeding this connection that we have. They're providing for our family, but they're not feeding the heart of me. And I think if you communicate that in a way that it doesn't come off as offensive, and it's just your true heart about wanting to be with your husband and desiring more affection and more sex with your husband, I think he will receive it in the right way. Because like Ronald said, men like to be desired. And so you just got to explain to him that, look, babe, I need a little more attention from you. I need a little more sex. I need a little more affection. I understand you out here working, but we got to balance it out, because as your wife, I want to be only focused on you. I want to only desire you. And so to help me do that is you giving it to me, the way that I need it. It's just about communicating. A lot of people, it amazes me, the people that are married that can't have these conversations. Like, it all comes down to communication. You got to be able to talk about it all. And that's why people that watch this that are single or dating, if you cannot communicate with the person you're dating, do not marry them. If you already have a huge deficit in the communication area, do not marry them. It will get worse for you in marriage. You got to be able to communicate, because everything in marriage can be worked out when you communicate effectively. We always talk about it's only two ways to communicate: effectively and ineffectively. You want to be able to communicate effectively, and you got to be able to talk to your spouse. You got a question?
What if you communicate that and it's still not being replicated?
What if you communicate and still not being reciprocated? Okay, what I would do then is I would begin to be a little more creative. And so I would initiate a lot of things. Like this is what I would say. And so I would say initiate a lot of it. Like a lot of times when I had an issue with my husband as far as getting the affection I needed, I would shower him with affection. I would show him what I need. He'd be like, babe, I really like that. I'm like, yeah, babe, I really like this too. This is the type of stuff that moves me. But he got to feel it and see what it was like, you know. So a lot of times you have to give them what you want in return. And what I will say about the sex piece, typically men that are not cheating will not turn down their wife sexually, even when they're tired. You will be, I literally could wake my husband up out his sleep at 2:00 in the morning and he won't argue a bit about it. But he may try to wake me up at 2. And I'm like, wait a minute. Like, no, did you not see me sleep? You know what I'm saying? So it's so very different for men and women. So what I would say is try to initiate it with him. Try different creative ways to find out what he needs and what he wants to get him to that place. Because it may be a barrier there for him that he's not being honest about why he doesn't want to go there. So I would have an honest conversation with my husband, like, what do you need from me for us to be able to get here? What do I need to do? Is there something I need to change? Something I need to add to this? Something you need me to, dial it up a little bit? You need me to flavor it up? What do you need? Because I need this from you. And so I will continue to try to communicate about it and bring it to his attention that it's something we got to work on. Because this is what me and Ronald said too. If you're in a marriage and you can't be honest about you feeling tempted, you're not being honest in your marriage.
No.
You haven't reached great communication, because we have always agreed that before we ever, and we will have no desire to cheat and don't ever think that we would cheat. But if we ever got to that point to feel like we wanted to step outside our marriage, we would come tell each other, because the coming to tell each other gives us two things. Either I can now do what I need to do that you don't step out, or I can ignore you and it's going, whatever happens, happens. And so I want to be given the opportunity that if by chance I have overlooked your need and your desire, and I have gotten into this war with you, and now you're feeling like you want to step out, and you tell me you want to step out, the grown woman in me is going to say, do you want your marriage or do you don't want your marriage? Because at this point, you need to put everything aside and you need to get back to the two of you.
And don't let that little ratchet person come out to my, nah, go do you.
Yeah,
because if you let that little ratchet person come out,
they
go
will
do you,
them.
I'm gonna go do me.
Yeah, they will, and that's something that we do a lot of times. We challenge each other. It's like, okay, you want to cheat? We get so defensive. Like, no, I need you to be honest with me.
Hear me.
If we're going through something in our marriage and we're so focused on everything else and all the issues that we're having, and you're neglected and you feel tempted to cheat, dude, tell me. Like, tell me, because I can regroup. I can regroup real fast. I may still have an attitude, but I'm going to regroup so that we can get this marriage back on track, because we committed to keeping it on track. That's part of keeping it on track, guys. That's why you got to be willing to talk about any and everything.
Yep.
If there's stuff sexually you don't like that's off limits, you got to be honest about that. Period. You got to be honest about it. And you can't just say, I don't like this. You got to tell them the why you don't like it. Because a lot of times when people understand why something doesn't work and why you don't like to do something in the way that it affects you, typically people can respect it. If it affects you negatively, typically a spouse won't want to take you there, because I don't want you to have a negative experience. So if you're telling me that it's making you feel a certain kind of way that's negative, and I understand that, then typically I'll be like, okay, we don't have to try that. Let's try something else. But we don't even talk about it. We don't even talk about it, guys. We got to be able to talk about it. We got to be able to talk about it. All this whole sex and affection thing, it can be resolved for every marriage if you communicate about it.
Communication is going to be the key.
If you're honest about it, if you're honest about your needs, you're honest about your desires, you're honest about temptations, if you talk about it, and if you're willing to be coachable. You got to be coachable. Everybody has to be willing to learn what their spouse needs. We can't assume. We can't give them what we know we like and what we need, because what I need ain't what he need. or the way I like to get something, not the way he like to get something. And so we got to make sure we're meeting the need where it is, that it's not our need, that it's our spouse's need, and we're working to meet it. That's all. That's what it's about. Let me see if I missed a question for Japadia. Guys, and I know for you guys who may be new to MBG, we're on every Monday at 8 o'clock, and we're typically on for an hour, but topics like this take us way longer than we're supposed to be on here. And so I guess we'll stay on till 10 o'clock if, the questions keep coming. And as we're going, we're like 13 minutes from 10, but we're typically on 8 to 9 on Mondays. And you can always inbox us questions. We always respond to our inboxes, or email us on our site, marriedbygod.org. You can find us there too. But man, it's important, guys. That's what you gonna say, babe?
And those of you who are on, we will be having our marriage conference.
Oh yeah.
Think It Strong.
In
August. Mm-hmm. And so if you are in the Atlanta area, please come out and join us. Come out and support us. Yeah. Come out and have fun with us. Come out and talk with us. Come out and chat with us.
And get some of this marriage food.
And get some of this marriage food.
We would love to see you guys. But so if you guys have any, I think I went through most of the questions and comments. But if we missed your question or comments, thanks, LaCrystal, for sharing the Married by God site. I appreciate you guys. So, but yeah, guys, all it comes down to is communication. But like we said before, if you look at the top selling marriage books, if you look at the research on marriage, if you just talk to people that have been married for over 5 years, you will see that intimacy and sex become issues in marriage. And a lot of times, sex is an issue for men and intimacy is an issue for women. So you got to make sure, you got to make sure that you're willing to do your part to not have affairs come into your marriage, because it's preventable, guys. You can get everything you need from your spouse. Me and Ronald preach this and say this all the time, and people that know us personally know what our marriage is about. They know us. So it's just no pretending. I love my husband. I have a great time with my husband. I have an awesome marriage, and I absolutely love this man. But at the same time, it's challenging at times. Yeah. It's hard to work full time, to do business, to raise kids, to do ministry, and make sure that he's still my focus. Sometimes I lose focus. Sometimes he loses focus. Sometimes I don't feel like having sex, and sometimes he wants to have sex. And so now we got to figure out, what's going to happen?
That when the coach come out, that Phil Jackson come out.
Sometimes, like he said, he doesn't want to stop by and order roses for his wife, or he doesn't want to stop by and get a card. He don't feel like he has to do all that. But then what's going to happen? Because at the end of it, if you're trying to win together as a married couple, everything that you do for your spouse is going to add value.
And let me add
it's going to help you win.
And never stop dating your spouse. Just
Absolutely.
Because you're together 5 years, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years. Never stop desiring your spouse. Because when you desire your spouse, you always want to see that glow.
Yeah.
Or that wow. I always like to call it wow moments. You know what I'm saying? You always want to see them wow moments from your spouse. That what makes the marriage so joyous.
Yeah.
Like that what bring the joy and the happiness and the kindness out of a marriage, when you continue to date your wife, when you continue to, shower your wife with that love and give her that intimacy that she needs. Yeah. When she needs it. Yeah. Because a lot of times she may not get it when she needs it, but when you're able and you have the ability to give her that, that's when you see the wow moment. Yeah. And so always continue to look at your wife as, I always see my wife as a new person every day. Every day it's a new Rachel. Yeah. And so that's what I look forward to. That's who I look forward to trying to please. Yeah. Outside of, trying to please God, of course. But, with my wife, I'm always trying to please her and take her to that next level. Some people say sky's the limit. I don't say sky's the limit. Sky's the place where me and my wife live, and the limit is above the skies for us. Yeah. Congrats, Eric, on that 23 years strong. That is awesome. 23? Awesome. I'm talking about he put the strong behind it. So that means it's good. 23 strong. That means there's been some things going on. You put that strong behind it, but that means it's some work. I'm telling you. It's some work been going on. So Patricia said, how to regain trust and respect after you tell your husband, God, I just think I struggled. Oh, you tell your husband you wanted to step out of the marriage. Okay, so I would say first, why is the respect lost?
I mean, that would be, I guess that would be my question, because I think for one, it's being honest. And anytime somebody is honest with you in a marriage, it may be a jug at your feelings. You may feel a little some kind of way that your spouse is being honest, that they were tempted to step out. But I wouldn't necessarily lose respect for my husband because he told me he had been feeling like he wanted to step out. I personally would want to get down to the root of why he feels that way. So I would want to have a lot more conversation around how did we get to this place. And I think that's why we got to control our emotions. We got to put our emotions where they go, because our emotions can mislead us into some other places. And so I would want to know why the respect was even lost from you being honest. It was an honest conversation. Now, if you stepped out and you told him you stepped out, I can see the respect being lost then, and then having to rebuild it. But if you didn't step out and you're only verbalizing that you were at a point that you felt like you could, I don't see why respect would be lost. I would want to have an honest conversation with my husband, like, why did you lose the respect?
Well, the thing is with men, how we process things, like I felt like I wanted to step out. In our mind, we see you already done stepped out. Mm-hmm. Because if you done thought about it, you have done it. Mm-hmm. That's how men, that's how we see things like that when you come to us about that. And it was also how you brought it to him. Mm-hmm. Now, if you were tactful about it, you sat down and you have a nice conversation and you guys are, listening to each other. But if it was just in a heated moment, like, I almost like to step down on you, you don't understand, then that's totally different.
Yeah.
So he's going to receive it in a different way.
That's so true.
But if you're sitting down like, babe, I really love you, you know what I'm saying? I really want to make this work. I really want to be with you.
Yeah.
But, it got to a point where, I felt like I wanted to step out. We still going to be a little hurt from it.
Yeah.
And we're going to still take it in a different way. Mm-hmm. But if you just see it in the heat of the moment, then it's going to be, a whole different way that we're going to look at that situation. Because we're going to feel like you already done stepped out. Mm-hmm. If you telling me this, you done it.
Yeah. I think that's great, baby.
And I'm not
the
saying
context and where it was said.
Yeah.
It's like how you said it, how did it come up? Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah, like Richard said, presentation is everything.
Presentation is everything. Thank you, Mr. White, a.k.a. the Whiteout.
I saw somebody said it's talking about past relationships bad. I think it would be, why would we need to talk about them? So it would be the context in which we are talking about them for. What is it bad? She's asking. It's talking about past relationships bad. And I would say in relation to what? So are we talking about past relationships to get clarity on why we may be having issues, or why I may see something the way that I see something, or why my spouse may be the way that they are from their past relationships? I don't think that's bad, because that's to get clarity. That's to move forward. That's to understand. But I think if you're just talking about it in a way to throw it in your spouse's face, like, well,
Craig used to hold me like this.
Yes.
And he used to touch me like this.
Yes, that's a
hold
problem.
me and then pull me close to him like this.
Yes.
I'll get some free rubs in, y'all.
Yes, absolutely. If it's in that context, yes, you will have a problem. And then I think that
because
will be
men don't
a
like
bad
to be
place.
compared to another man. I don't care what the situation is.
Yeah.
Do not bring up a past dude trying to compare me, telling me that what this person did.
Yeah.
And so that's rule number one. Never bring up, your ex to compare with your present.
Yeah. And I think anytime you talk about something that you need, it doesn't have to be tied to a person.
Oh, yeah.
It just needs to be tied to your need.
Yeah. So that was good. I just thought about this. Never talk about your past to your present if you want to have a future.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. I make sure I didn't miss one. Okay, so what's the solution when I've done both ways? I'm trying to get the question, Patricia. Okay, so what's the solution when I've done both ways? Both ways of what? Is work. Good, bad, ugly. Yes, Alberta, marriage is work. The good, bad, and the ugly. Communication is key. I see some of you guys are getting married soon. Congratulations on your upcoming nuptials. We pray that God will definitely keep and bless you guys, and you guys will have him at the foundation of your union, and he will keep you guys covered and moving forward. And so many times, like we tell people that to have a great marriage, man, first you got to have God at the foundation. Now we just want to kind of end on that note. You got to have God involved in your marriage. You have to have him at the foundation. You a lot of times we use God as our phone chargers, like we said before, only plugging in when we're losing power and when we feel like we need him. And you can't use God like your phone charger. You got to keep him consistently in your marriage, consistently there in the good times, consistently there in the bad times, consistently there in the struggling times. And so that you can get the guidance and the leadership that you need to have a successful marriage. That's what God does. God holds both of us accountable. He holds the two of you accountable in a marriage. That's why it's so important to have God, because if you don't have God in the marriage, there's nobody to check anybody.
Yeah.
It's simply going to go off of whoever feels right, and whoever wants to fight the fight to say that they're right. If you have nothing to go back to and compare it to, then you have nothing to stand on. So that's why it's very important to have God's guidance, God's inclusion, God's leadership, God's word in your marriage. It's important to stay connected together through God. I think I missed something. I don't want to make it a don't want to hear about a woman either. Yeah, that's right, Lucas. We don't want to hear about no women in the past. Don't compare me to women. And so, guys, thank you guys for tuning in. Well, I just got three more minutes. Isn't it some truth to it when you say things? And let me see the thing.
Well, you said, do you think it's some truth to when you're saying things in the heat of the moment? It depends.
Yeah.
I think most of the time for me, I think if it coming from a woman, it could be some truth to it, but I think a lot of that, like 85% of that, be emotion. Mm-hmm. Because the way that I would get you to hear me is to say something to hurt you. Because when I say something to hurt you, you automatically hear that. Mm-hmm. And so now I have your attention. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so now you're going to be like, if I say something to hurt you, and I say something in the heat of the moment, quickly, if I'm about to step out on you right now, and you be like, what? But you ain't heard nothing about the reason why I'm about to step out, because I'm not getting what I need.
Yeah.
You haven't been here for me for the last few months. I needed you. I'm calling you. I'm begging you. Mm-hmm. But if I tell you I'm about to step out, you don't hear none of that. Only thing you hear, I'm about to step out.
Yep.
But you didn't hear what was leading up to me about to step out. Mm-hmm. And so saying something at the heat of the moment, I think most of the time is emotional, and to get your attention. Yeah. Because a lot of times, if you look at it, a lot of times when you're in a heated argument, everybody trying to take jabs. Mm-hmm. And when I take a jab at you, it's to get your attention. Mm-hmm. You suck. Mm-hmm. I hate you too. Mm-hmm. You ain't never did. And so it's all about jabs and jabs. But when y'all come back to your senses, if you record it, you realize that what you said really didn't make no sense, because you really love this person. Because if you didn't love this person, why we keep arguing about going back over the same thing over and over and over again?
Exactly.
And what happens is when you keep having the same issue that coming up,
it's not resolved.
It's not resolved. So what it does is it recycles, and then it resurfaces.
Yep.
And it continues to cause issues after issues after issues.
That's good,
and
baby.
Start having a snowball.
Resurface. Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking for another R, but I couldn't think of one.
That's actually good. It recycles, it resurfaces. And so they got another question concerning the past relationship talk. What if it's because of an issue that you dealt with in the past one, which you no longer want to deal with, and it is repeated itself in your present one, and he clearly says, you dealt with it then, why you being tough guy on me now? So let's say you dealt with some infidelity in a past relationship, and now you're in your current one, and that happens, and then they're like, well, you dealt with it before, so why you spazzing out all on me now? I think first we got to have a real conversation about that. That's not a pass for you to do whatever. Me disclosing, I think it's important to disclose what you're not willing to experience from the past. That's not, to me, drudging up the past. That should be a one-time conversation, really, that this is something I experienced from the past, and this is something that I don't want to experience in my relationship. And so when it comes, then, and it comes that way, just because I experienced it before doesn't give you right of passage to do it. It doesn't give you the clearance to do it, and I have an issue with it. I explained to you the way it impacted me and how I felt about it then. It doesn't change now. And it may even have more of a issue with, it may have more of an impact on me now because I explained to you before that I experienced it and I didn't want to experience it again. And so I think it's definitely not a pass for them to do it. I think you got to communicate about that. You got to communicate about them truly hearing how that has affected you and how it's an issue in your marriage or your relationship. I think you got to just talk those kind of things out. But you should never feel like you have to give them a pass or that they have a pass just because you dealt with it before in the past. Like, no, that's not a pass to have to deal with it again.
I agree.
My husband and I are celebrating our 7th anniversary tomorrow, and it is all thanks to God hand on our marriage. Congratulations, Miss Gray, on 7 wonderful years. Praying God blesses you with many, many more. How do you treat each other while engaged? What are boundaries? Wow. Well, I think, how do you treat each other when you're engaged? What are boundaries? I think that, well, a lot of times we teach that you pretty much set up your marriage before you get married, especially when you're at engagement phase.
Yeah, and so when you're at the engagement stage, you pretty much setting your boundaries right there.
Yeah.
And so that's where the whole building process, the boundaries, all that is being set.
Yeah.
And I was going to say if you read our book, but in the book we talk about the love boat, the battleship, and the cruise.
Mm-hmm.
That is when you get into the marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're not in the marriage and you're at the what is it? What stage is the I just lost my train of thought. What stage you?
The love boat,
No,
battleship cruise.
no. Before you get married, the engagement.
Oh,
That's
engagement,
it.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So when you're at that stage, that's when you start to set the boundaries of what, how far this can go. I don't want this to happen. This is who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what it's all about, exposing yourself before you even get into marriage.
Exactly.
And so you got to be willing to be vulnerable, which some people don't want to do. But before you enter the love boat, the battleship, and the cruise,
Yeah.
you first got to be vulnerable. And so likewise, when you go get on the cruise, you just don't go get on the cruise. You have to come to the dock. You have to drive up to the dock. You had to check in all your bags and all, go through the whole process of that before you even get on the boat. And so that's the engagement stage.
Yeah.
And so you got all your baggage. And before you leave home, you check, okay, what I'm going to need. I ain't going to take this because it probably ain't going to be cold. So I'm going to take this for the cold night. I'm going to take this and I ain't going to need this. So you taking all of your baggages and you leaving stuff at home and you taking what you're going to need. So in your relationship, going into a marriage,
Absolutely.
you taking
That's
all
good.
your baggages, you leaving it,
Yeah.
and you taking what you're going to need
Yeah.
before you get ready to go into this marriage,
Yeah.
before you get ready to walk into the love boat.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so those are the boundaries that you're going to set before
Yeah.
you even get married.
Yeah, because people got to understand that we all come to marriage with baggage, but
Yeah.
the whole piece of engagement that's beautiful is that you guys decide what you're gonna work out in the marriage and what absolutely cannot go into your marriage union. And so a lot of times people don't work out what the baggage they're gonna take and work out in marriage and the baggage that just can't come. Typically what people do is they just go throwing all their baggage on board and into the marriage and then try to work out things that should never be in the marriage in the first place. Those things should have been left behind. Those things should have been dealt with before you ever got into the marital union. And so like Ronald said, this is the time to weed out things. You got to teach each other how to love, like how you want to be loved. So you got to teach your spouse what works for you. What worked? What do you want? What do you expect? You got to start setting expectations about marriage. When we get married, I expect my husband to come home every night.
But set some real expectation, man.
Yeah.
Don't be talking about, some old crazy nonsense.
Yeah.
And, you want sex
Yeah.
2 or 3 times a week. Man, that's unrealistic.
Yeah.
And, I like to ask people this, man. How many times of sex per month that you think that you're going to get sex?
Yeah.
Because if you really want to be real, you're not going to get sex 3 or 4 times a week. That's not going to happen. Now, I'm not saying it's possible.
Yeah.
But when you take in consideration if your wife worked,
And y'all got kids.
Y'all
Your
got kids.
schedule's different.
your schedule different, and also you got to think about that time of the month when Mother Nature is running its course. So that's already discludes you on at least a month and a half. I mean, a week and a half. And so you only really got 2 weeks to
work
really get
with
it in.
it.
And so either you can do it all those 2 weeks and skip the other 2 weeks, but that's how it pretty much is going to work.
Yeah, you got to be honest. I think it's just being honest about what you want, what you expect.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people go into a marriage not having expectation conversations. And so when they get into the marriage, they're so frustrated and they feel like they've been lied to. Yeah, and bamboozled because now it's so different than what I expected, but we never had an expectation conversation.
And that's what you have to do because in marriage, it's like, setting goals for yourself in your life. If you want to be successful in life, you have to work hard at it. If you want to be successful in marriage, you also got to work hard at it. You also have to set goals. This is my expectation, my 3-year plan, my 4-year plan, my 10-year plan, my 15-year plan, if you even expect to even go that long. But nobody goes into marriage saying, hey, in 3 years, I want to get a divorce. That's what I'm looking at. No.
Yeah.
When you get into marriage, man, you expect this for the long haul.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you think about being successful, this is for the long haul. I'm talking about building wealth.
Yeah.
So when you think about being in wealth, it just don't happen overnight. This is something that you have to work hard at each and every day. I work hard to get to my dream. So when I get to my dream, I can live my dream.
Yeah.
I work hard in my marriage
Yeah.
so that my marriage can be successful. And so after 20 to 30, like Eve was saying, he's 23 years strong. And so he done got to a point where probably him and his wife don't even argue no more. Not to say that they don't have issues, but they don't have real arguments anymore. Because she understands, no, babe, you got that. You know what I'm saying? It's cool. I was wrong. That's when you start to get that understanding. See, this is what the cruise is about.
Yeah.
The cruise life in marriage is about you guys having that clear understanding, knowing that you cannot win every battle, and every battle will not be yours, every battle won't be hers, and you got to realize that you guys are on the same team anyway.
Yeah.
So if you have to take
Absolutely.
the final shot, baby, the final shot on you.
Yep.
If we win, lose, or draw, we win together. We win
lose together.
And so either way it go, we're gonna be together at the end of the day.
Yeah. Next question. What about when they only believe they right and the woman always wrong, even when she right? Like, take responsibility for your actions. How do you break the alpha down? And I think it's a very tactful way. So I'm gonna go. The scripture piece of it says that a woman can win over her husband by her behavior. And so simply what
That's
that
true.
means is the way that you respond and the way that you are with your
gonna
husband is going to affect the way that he responds. And so it's very hard to continue to be argumentative and feel like you always right with somebody that's overly loving and overly nice to you. It's very hard to do that. And so what I will say is that at the end of it, I think if we focus less on being right and more on, is this working for our marriage? That's what matters. And so if it's something that he always wants to be right on, but it has no real impact on your marriage, I wouldn't worry about it. But if it has a real impact on our marriage, then you got to start having some real conversation about it. You got to start really communicating about it. And even though you disagreeing in the communication, you don't then begin to withhold sex from him or treat him spitefully or disrespect him. You don't do any of those things. You're able to communicate, your issue, where you stand with it, but still love your husband. I think a lot of times when people have issues, they don't know how to still do the love piece, and we disagree.
Yeah.
So we got to still be able to do the love piece. And I think if you do the love piece, even through the disagreement, you'll be able to shift some of that. And it's also about the people you have around you. Like we were talking to Crystal,
circle.
you got to build that marriage circle. If you guys don't have that around now, start looking for couples that are you guys can connect with, that are growing and successful and giving real honest feedback. Because sometimes you get around people, they want to lie about marriage and they miserable. You want to get around people that's going to give you the real raw truth of marriage and also give you the resources and encouragement on how to get past the tough times. So I think that's what it comes down to. If there is a loyal husband but wife jumps in and out of marriage, what do you do? I think anytime anybody jumps in and out of a marriage, it's a problem. I think first, and when you say in and out of marriage, I'm assuming you're talking about some infidelity, Mr. Hart. So I'm not sure, but let me know if that's what you're talking about. But I'm thinking if you have somebody who's loyal and you have somebody who continuously steps out, then you have to assess now, like, the first step out, you got to have a real conversation.
Yeah.
What brought them to the point that they stepped out? Because typically when people step out of marriage, they step out of marriage for a lack. So to fill a need. And so you got to get down to what need was missing at that time. If you can do that, typically you can move forward and heal. But if you can't and you don't want to hear about why somebody stepped out and you want to say, oh, you just stepped out because you selfish, you just wanted to step out, and you're not really listening to what kind of got you guys to that place, it's going to be hard to reconcile. It's going to be hard to move that person away from stepping out. Also, you got to definitely place God in your marriage. If you don't have God in your marriage, it will not work. That person will continue to be selfish, will continue to step out. And you got to really look at their reasoning for stepping out. Is this somebody who has a sexual problem? Or is this somebody who doesn't want to be married? Is this somebody who feels like they can run over you and you're going to forgive them and they're going to continue to do what they want to do? Those things you have to assess. And I think at the root of that, though, you got to make sure that you seek God and you seek some guidance and have some real conversation with your spouse about what caused the infidelity. Why is the infidelity happening? And if they cannot stop, you have to make the decision. Is this somebody I want to continue to be married to? Is this somebody I want to continue to be in this with, to work this out with? Somebody who I feel like is somebody I feel like is taking me for granted, is not trying to work on our marriage together. So you got to assess that piece for yourself and make a decision on it. You got anything on that, babe?
No, I was doing comments.
Okay,
Hey,
I got
but,
some question. Let me
Hold on.
I just want to get to the other three before we get out.
Okay, after these last three, this is going to be it.
Okay, so I'm 30 and I have been with my husband since I was 11 years old. We got married when I was 20. How do we keep things new? The things that worked in our teen years don't work now, and the things in our 20s are getting old. How do we keep it fresh?
How do you keep it fresh? I would say spontaneity. Going to be the key. Because I think what happens is it's always new levels to marriages.
It does. It each other.
Yes.
Because I think at every season in your marriage it's something new. And so you have to learn each other in each season. Like in your 20s, in your 30s, in your 40s, you have to continue to learn how to reconnect, how to love each other, how to enjoy each other.
Because we're always growing individually.
Absolutely.
And so as you grow individually, your marriage begins to grow.
Yep.
You know, because the two has become one. Mm-hmm. So even though the one is growing, the two has become one. It also is growing. And so it's always going to be different stages that you have to change things up to grow.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So guys, if I didn't answer the question live, then I'm going to go back and just kind of type it in and answer it because I don't want to keep people too much. And so we'll go back and answer the questions as we look back through the feed. Man, we appreciate you guys tuning in with us. We appreciate you guys supporting MBG. Share it with anybody that you know may benefit from hearing some discussion on marriage, hearing some discussion about the importance of sex and affection in marriage, or just trying to encourage somebody. And so we appreciate you guys. We pray that God keeps your marriages and that he keeps you and your families as we get off this scope. Again, we're having if you're not following us, please go and follow us, guys. Married by God. We're on Instagram as well as Married by God, and we're on Twitter as Married by God, and we're definitely on Facebook as Married by God. We're also on Periscope. And so we didn't go live on Periscope tonight, but you can catch us any of those ways. You can go to our website, marriedbygod.org, if you want to inbox us or find out what's going on with us. We do have the Think It Strong conference, and we're talking about how to transform your marriage by the power of your thoughts. And so we're going to have that conference in August, and we're going to be putting out information on that as well. Thank you guys for the support, the love.
No, don't go.
Please continue to pray for us, guys, because sometimes this gets hard. Me and Ronald both just got off work. I think I got home at 7, and we jump on the scope at 8, and he had the boys settled, fed, and everything, and allowed me to get in the zone to get ready to get on this with him. And so sometimes it does get hard for us, guys. And so we appreciate your prayers. We appreciate your supports. When you inbox us and just tell us thank you for, sacrificing our time, it's greatly appreciated. It keeps us encouraged. It keeps us going. So we appreciate you guys. We pray for you guys, and we ask that God continues to bless you. And we hope to see you soon. We may jump back on sometime this week. If not, we will see you again on Monday.
And we will have part 3.
Clearly, because this is a topic.
I think, you know what? I think we're going to do is we're just going to run a series all this month.
Yeah, just talking about the different things in marriage that you need, and definitely you guys' questions keep us going as we're responding to it too, because we all experience different things, and this is where we can learn and share with each other in marriage. When we open our marriages up to other people and show them how you can resolve different issues. It out. Guys, so it's freezing up on us, giving us a little problem. So I'm gonna say goodnight. Ron's gonna say goodnight. We love you guys. Thanks for supporting MBG. We'll see y'all next time.